I am 74 years old, and most mornings I sit at the kitchen table with my coffee and just look out the window. Not at anything in particular, just out. The yard is quiet. The house is quiet. It has been quiet for a long time now. I want to tell you something, not because I think it will change your life, not because I have answers, but because I am running out of time to say it, and someone should hear it. I had 3 children, David, Margaret, and the youngest, Paul. They are alive. I want to be clear about that. No tragedy took them from me. They are alive. They have families. They have jobs. David lives in Oregon. Margaret is in Toronto. Paul is about 40 minutes away, which sounds close until you realize we see each other maybe 4 times a year. I did that. I need to say it plainly. I did that. When I was in my 30s, I was building something. That was how I thought about my life. Building. I had a career in commercial real estate, and I was good at it. I worked hard, and the work responded. Deals closed. Money came in. My name meant something in the circles I ran in. My wife, Carol, she held everything together at home. I told myself that was the arrangement we had agreed to, and in some formal sense, maybe we had. But I wonder now how much of that agreement was her accommodation and how much was my convenience. I did not ask that question then. I was too busy building. I traveled. I was gone 3, sometimes 4 days a week. When I was home, I was tired or distracted or on the phone. We had dinner together most nights, and I sat there, but I was not really there. My mind was always somewhere else. Some deal, some number, some problem I was trying to solve. The children would talk, and I would nod. I thought I was listening. I was not listening. David played baseball through junior high and into high school. I made it to maybe a third of his games. I told myself a third was reasonable. I told myself he understood. I asked him once, years later, whether it had bothered him, and he said, "It is fine, Dad." But his face said something else, and I did not press. I was afraid of what he would tell me. Margaret wanted to be an artist. She was talented. She used to draw these enormous, detailed pictures of imaginary cities. She had an eye for things, even as a little girl. When she was 16, she asked me if she could go to an art summer program. It was expensive, and it overlapped with a family vacation we had planned. I said no. I told her she could go next summer. She never asked again. She is an accountant now. She is good at it. I do not think she loves it. I do not know if that is my fault. I do not know what her life would have looked like, but I never forget the way she stopped asking. Paul was the one who tried the longest to reach me. He was like that, persistent, hopeful. Well into his 20s, he would call and want to talk. Not about anything in particular, just talk. And I was always polite, but I always had somewhere to be. I treated my son's phone calls like interruptions. I do not know exactly when he stopped calling as often. It was not dramatic. There was no argument. He just slowly stopped reaching, the way a plant stops reaching for a window that has no light. Carol got sick when she was 63. Not suddenly. It came in stages, the way serious illness usually does. There were a couple of years where things were manageable, where we thought we had more time than we did, and then there were not. She died when she was 67. We were married 41 years. After she was gone, I discovered something I had not known about myself. I did not know how to be in a room with another person. I had spent so long being present only partially that I had never learned to be present fully. I did not know how to sit with my children and just be their father. I had spent 40 years being someone who provided, someone who was impressive, someone who was busy. I did not know how to just be. The grief from losing Carol was real, but underneath it was something else, something that took me longer to name. It was the realization that I had also been absent from her, that we had lived in the same house for decades, and I had let some essential part of our life together go unattended. She had been lonely, I think. She never said so, not directly, but I think she had been lonely in her marriage, and I had not seen it because looking would have required me to slow down. I retired at 72. I had planned to retire earlier, but I kept finding reasons to stay involved. The truth is, I was afraid. Work had been my identity for so long that I did not know who I was without it. When I finally stepped away, I discovered the answer. I was a stranger to my own life. I have had a lot of time since then to think about what I was actually chasing all those years. I thought I was building security. I thought I was doing right by my family. I thought being a good provider and a capable man was the same thing as being a good father and a good husband. It is not the same thing. Security matters. I am not saying it does not. But there is a point where you have enough, and past that point, you are no longer working for your family. You are working for something else. Maybe for status, maybe for the feeling of being needed at the office. Maybe just because you do not know how to stop. I crossed that point sometime in my 40s, and I kept going for another 20 years. What I lost in those 20 years cannot be returned. David does not call me spontaneously. He calls on my birthday and at Christmas, and when something practical needs to be coordinated. He is not cold. He is just careful. He learned to keep a certain distance, and I taught him that. Margaret and I are polite with each other. We have pleasant conversations. There is warmth there, a real warmth. But there is also a kind of surface to it that I cannot get beneath. I think I missed the window when we could have gone deeper. I think that window was when she was 14, 15, 16, and I was not paying enough attention to see it. Paul tries. He still tries. He is the one who called last month just to check in, no occasion, just to hear my voice. And when I hung up, I sat in this kitchen and I thought, I almost lost him too. I almost drove all of them so far away that none of them would reach for me at all. And I did nothing special to keep him. He just had a forgiving nature, and I benefited from it without deserving it. I do not tell you this to make you feel sorry for me. I made choices. They were not forced on me. I told myself they were necessary, but most of them were not. I could have left earlier most nights. I could have made the games. I could have said yes to the art program. I could have picked up the phone when Paul called instead of letting it go to voicemail and telling myself I would call back later. Later is the word I would take back if I could take anything back. I was always going to do things later. Later, I would take more time off. Later, I would have real conversations with my kids. Later, Carol and I would travel, would sit together, would talk the way we talked when we were young. Later, I would slow down. Later became never in ways I did not notice until it was already done. If you are younger than me, which almost everyone who hears this is, I want to ask you something. Not tell you, ask you. When is the last time you were fully in a room with someone you love? Not physically present, fully present. No phone nearby, no part of your mind somewhere else. Just there with them, listening, not waiting to speak, not solving anything. Just there. I do not know when the last time was for me. I know it was not often enough. I am not telling you to quit your job or abandon your responsibilities. I am telling you that the relationships in your life are being formed right now by the quality of attention you give them. Not occasionally, constantly. Every time you half listen, every time you postpone, every time you choose the easier thing when the more important thing is sitting right in front of you, you are teaching the people you love what they can expect from you. They learn. Children learn especially quickly. I am 81. My back hurts most mornings. I tire easily. I have a decent doctor and a small group of friends, older men like me, and we have lunch sometimes and talk about things that do not matter much. I think about Carol. I think about who I was when she met me and who I became, and whether the man she died next to was worth the years she gave him. I hope he was. I am not sure. I will see my children again at Thanksgiving. We will eat together, and the grandchildren will run around, and there will be noise and warmth, and it will be real. It is not nothing. It is not the relationship I would have built if I had built it with care. But it is not nothing. I am grateful for what remains, and I am honest with myself about what I surrendered to get here. If this stayed with you at all, I hope you will sit with it quietly for a while. Not to feel guilty, just to look at your life clearly, the way you can when you stop moving long enough to accurately see it. That is all I wanted to say.